Welcome to the Beast Gang Podcast. This is a review for War Dogs. War Dogs is directed by Todd Phillips. He has previously directed Old School, the Hangover series, and Due Date. The writers are Stephen Chin. He only has one credit prior to this one. Jason Slovimic, who has written Lucky Number 11 from 2006 and My Own Worst Enemy TV series that was on NBC. Todd Phillips is also listed as a writer. It's based on a Rolling Stones article written by Guy Lawson. That article is called Arms and the Dudes. It stars Miles Teller as David Packhouse. Miles Teller has been in the critically acclaimed movie Whiplash, where he plays a drummer. He has also been in the critically panned 2015 version of Fantastic Four and the Divergent series. It stars Jonah Hill as Ephraim DeViroli. Jonah Hill has been in the Jump Street series, The Wolf of Wall Street, and Superbad. The synopsis is, based on a true story, two young men, David Packhouse and Ephraim DeViroli, who won a $300 million contract from the Pentagon to arm America's allies in Afghanistan. The movie begins with Miles Teller, who plays David Packhouse, being a down-on-his-luck massage therapist in Florida. It's the mid-2000s. He plays the straight man in the movie. He has a girlfriend, she's pregnant, they live in check to check. He also has a lot of entrepreneurial ideas, but none of those take off. He attends a funeral for a friend that he went to high school with. I don't remember the character's name. Another person that attends the funeral is Jonah Hill's character, Ephraim. People haven't seen Ephraim because he's been living in California. David and Ephraim used to be friends. When he was younger, David's family thought Ephraim was a bad influence and decided to keep him apart. They meet up and talk after the funeral. Jonah Hill's character explains that he was in California working with his uncle reselling old police equipment. He and his uncle had a falling out. Ephraim was moving back to Florida to start his own business and wants to bring David in. The plan is to bid on military contracts to buy and sell used guns and ammo for the Iraq and Afghan wars. One of the first signs in the movie that Ephraim is not who he appears to be early on is that he needs to go meet someone. That someone turns out to be a drug dealer. Ephraim has a drug habit. However, David is willing to look past all that. Ephraim gets his business off the ground. The company is called AEY, which is the actual name of the true company that this is based off of. He and David make a lot of money. A lot of money. Miles Teller's girlfriend is kept in the dark about the true nature of the business. She's opposed to the Iraq and Afghan wars. Things start to unravel when David sees cracks in Ephraim's character. And that's where I'm going to stop at. If you see movies like Wolf of Wall Street, Goodfellas, or Pain and Gain, this movie is like the light version of those. Those movies have a main character that means to do well, but gets him way over their head. Miles Teller plays a guy that wants to get into business for himself, but he doesn't want to struggle. Jonah Hill's character is manipulative and wants to take advantage of a situation. Hill plays that role well. There's times where you can't decide if he's telling the truth or lying. That becomes a big plot point. Todd Phillips does a good job balancing this movie compared to his older ones. There's a point where they do go to Vegas, but it's only for a couple of scenes. There's also a Bradley Cooper cameo. The movie is pretty much music driven. The music sets up the tone for each segment. The movie's very self-aware. It has title cards that pop up that explain a line from the movie, and it's always funny when you see that line play out in the actual scene. This is one of those movies where the characters can go as high as they can, but when the downfall happens, it's pretty sharp. The characters can't stand each other and eventually have ulterior motives. In all, Miles Teller and Jonah Hill show that their characters did have a prior relationship. When a rift between them happens, Teller's character wants to do the right thing, but you're not certain what Jonah Hill's character will do. The acting and directing does this to a great effect. Earlier on, I compared this to Wolf of Wall Street or Goodfellas. It has the same tone as those movies. However, the story in those were much more interesting. Todd Phillips isn't Scorsese, but gets the job done. To wrap this up, I give this movie a 6.5. It's based on a true story, but likely takes some liberties. Those changes make for an effective movie. That's the Beast Gang Podcast. You can find more of our podcasts at beastgang.com, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio.